Hi everybody, I'm Marilyn Madish, and I'm going to do a presentation today on the quest for gold. And if you're on this Alaska cruise, usually people try to pan for gold along the way, so it's a very important topic. So let's look at the map that prospectors were given. On this map, it shows a red dot. The red dot was Rabbit Creek or Bonanza Creek. Everybody wanted to get to Bonanza Creek. Unfortunately, when they got to Bonanza Creek, there was quite a few stakes already claimed, so it wasn't as lucrative as they thought it would be. So how'd they get there? Well, there's about 3 different ways to get there. One was out of San Francisco, out of Seattle, out of Vancouver. They could get on a steamer, and the steamer would go up, as you see on the map here, around the top of Alaska, almost to the Bering Sea, came in at St. Michael, and then go down the Yukon. Actually, it was go up and then down the Yukon into Dawson City. So they could do that. They did, however, have another route. And the other route, the most difficult, was Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So they could go from there and they could walk and go through the Pelly River. Unfortunately, that was probably the most dangerous route. How about the most popular route? The most popular route was Skagway. So you get to Skagway, you do the White Pass, get up to Lake Bennett, go up through Whitehorse, over to Fort Selkirk, and then finally to Dawson City. Sounds like a breeze, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it wasn't that way. I don't even like walking 20 steps in the snow from my driveway when it snows, so I can't even imagine what they were doing. So the White Pass area, the critical part was the beginning part. And if you took a look at a map, these prospectors were actually going to the top, or Lake Bennett. So here's Skagway all the way up top. So there was another way, and that was called Dyea. Dyea was a city, if you're looking at the maps at that time, and Dyea is actually about 10 miles closer to where you wanted to go. So Dyea is here, Skagway is here, and then Lake Bennett is up here, which means that you would be coming around, if you were in Skagway, up this way. Peterson had a good idea. In fact, Peterson hoists are still around today if you look them up. Peterson got in the action, and a lot of people got in the action real quick when they heard about the gold rush, where he put up a hoist system. And on his hoist system from Dyea, what he would do was, and as you see it in this picture here, the top part of the picture on the right-hand side is a basket. And he would fill the basket with snow, and he'd put your belongings down at the bottom, and then he would send your belongings down. Unfortunately, that took quite a bit of time. You know, each prospector had a ton of supplies. They had to come with a ton of supplies, and if they didn't, they were sent back home. Half of the supplies were food. The mounted police checked them out. So this was one way of doing that. On this aerial tram that he did, he actually had 4 or 5 different ways. So he started out with the hoist and the pulley, then he went to steam, then he went to electric, or gas, and then electric. And by that time, of course, he's going to have to be, his 4 lines were closed in 1900 because there was a railroad from Skagway. So he kind of got in, got out real quick, much like the stock market, if you know how to deal with that. If you look at the Chilkoot Pass, what was from Dyea, you will see that there's a lot of equipment there. So at the Chilkoot Pass, what happened? They had to have all of their belongings reweighed, or at least weighed so they could get into Canada. So that the Golden Stair, or the base of that, the Golden Staircase, was the scale areas where the First Nation people would weigh and measure all of their equipment and their food. And a lot of times what happened was they didn't have either enough, or they had too much, or people were dishonest and would weigh it to 2 times the weight, and they didn't have the money to pay for it. But if they got through that, they then went up to the Chilkat Pass. And as you can see there, that's quite a climb. That was 33 miles in the cold, driving snow. And actually, I've read where it says even in the dead of summer, it wasn't any fun. The last elevation, the last 1,000 feet was, last half mile was 1,000 feet or 1,500 steps. Now, can you imagine? Get on your stair steppers at home and start walking 1,500 steps. Better yet, maybe on the cruise. Give it a shot and then let me know how things work out for you. But they had to do it up to 40 times, not just one time. So looking at this map, they were then on number 6 at that time when they got up to Lake Bennett. So you would think they would be halfway home. Not really. They were not halfway home. So let's go on toward Dawson City on the Yukon. Now they had to build a boat. They had to build some kind of transportation to get up from Lake Bennett to the Whitehorse area. And Whitehorse, incidentally, is named Whitehorse because of it looks like the mane of a horse because of the ripples of the water. It reminds me almost like if you have studied anything about the migration from Kansas on the Oregon Trail, and the people came up, they're all ready to come down the Columbia, and they find that the rapids are much too fast and furious and lose half the people. That's exactly what happened here. They built their boat, and then from Lake Bennett, get into Whitehorse down the Yukon, and it's another fast and furious trip. They did get up to Miles Canyon, and in this photo, it does show the boat that they had built, actually this canoe that they had built on this particular trip. But the railway from Skagway was much better. So we've got over here Daya, you've got Mr. Peterson and his hoist, and then you've got the railway. And you can see on this photo that the railway went up from Skagway to Whitehorse, but it took too much time to build. It did, however, and I should say, Mr. Brackett, who had a kind of a monopoly in Skagway, he built a restricted area so nobody could walk through that and get their items up there. So they had to buy, first of all, before they could build the railway, they had to buy from him his property rights, which made him a real rich man. So they did have the White Pass Railway up, but it took actually 2 years. And after the 2 years were over, it was now 1900, and there was no reason to even go to the gold country anymore because there was no gold anymore. Everybody had staked their claims. Everybody was moving up to Nome. So this verifies and tells you July 1st, first train, 1898. I like to put the 19 in there even though it's the year 2000. And then finishes in 1900. Very long period of time. I hope that you can come back and go through the rest of this presentation with me. I deal with who found the gold. They say George Carmack, but actually it really wasn't him. And some characters in the history and the building of the Yukon. So thank you very much for being here today.